Yeah.
See here? All right, you're good, dude.
Okay. Is anybody on there yet?
Not yet. I thought I saw Gobi's email though. Gobi's on your personal room.
Drink here in case I want to put some chia seeds in my teeth.
There you go. You guys all ready to get going?
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, welcome, guys. I'm excited to be here. Just like a couple days ago, I told Brandon and Ken I was coming out. I didn't like, hey, I didn't even plan it. I'm just like, dude, I'm coming out. Like, I just bought the ticket. I'm like, these are the days I'm coming out. So whatever happens in between then. And we're also trying to set up the Smile podcast. So I'm not sure what it'll be called. It might be called the Smile Podcast. I don't know. That might be good. I don't know, like start making your legacy podcast. Like, it could be cool.
See.
But because I've been podcasting for 3 years with Closer Cult podcast, it's just a natural fit for me to come out, put together a podcast, get the right technology, put all the stuff in line and get cracking. I've been talking a lot lately with the teams and stuff that I coach every week. And I coach all different brands, which is crazy, right? And some of the brands know where I'm at. Some of them don't ask, but I teach and I coach and I train different companies all over the nation via Zoom. And I've been talking a lot this last week about negotiations. As the market shifts, every time the market shifts, people get, when they're out of the market or they do a small amount of business, they get kind of rusty, right? And then people step back into the market and go, how do they know how to do that? Like, I forgot how to negotiate. I forgot what negotiations was. And so there's two parts of the negotiations that I teach in my 52-week course. And the first one is Negotiations 101, and I'll touch on that just a little bit. It's a lot more organic, and Negotiations 101 is a lot more holistic, meaning it's a lot more, it embodies the whole aspect of the connection process with people. The first part of the connection process or the negotiations process, let me ask you guys, what is the most important part of negotiations to you? What's that?
Winning.
Winning, okay. Shark over here, got a shark. Shark in water. Ken, you were gonna say something?
I always want to know what they don't know.
You wanna know what they don't know?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, what do you mean by that?
So
Briefly.
well, I want to know who knows what at when and why.
Okay.
It's better.
So you're more detail, you wanna know details?
Yeah.
Okay, what were you gonna say?
I want to know the ultimate goal
The ultimate goal of
of my clients.
your clients, okay? What else? Who else?
And the other, the opposing side.
Absolutely.
Making both parties happy at the end of it. So they're happy, we're happy.
Yes. So, and then let's talk about that. What does that mean?
It means like both parties that heard, they both came to understanding, kind of, not meet in the middle, but never split the difference type thing, but,
Okay,
yeah, nobody feels like they lost.
okay, so like a win-win
Yeah.
situation, okay?
Depends on the situation.
You're shaking your head no, as you're saying that. It kind of depends on the
Yeah,
situation.
situation, sometimes, negotiate, we have to negotiate on our client's behalf, right? Our job is to represent them and get them else. But
Yes,
sometimes you gotta look at the situation as, is there other things involving like timing? You
Yes.
have to close, so
timing,
as
okay.
Sean said, if everyone walks away and nobody's happy, you've done a good job for both sides.
Yes. Wait, say that one more time.
No, If no one's happy, it's good, it's done on both sides, everybody negotiated, everyone walked away with it.
Okay, so what does that mean? Everybody was what?
Not happy.
Content?
Yeah, everybody felt they got something, but didn't take away everything, nobody lost everything.
Okay. Because I want to talk about that, because in negotiations, oftentimes we talk about having win-win situations, right? Where everybody's happy. Is that always the case? No. And so negotiations, what actually is negotiations? When we talk about coming to the meeting of the minds, right? Having a connection with people. And what actually does that mean? The meeting of the minds? Anyone?
Make your wants known.
Make your wants known. Yes, perfect description. Making your wants known. Having a meeting, literally, you have a mastermind between the people, make your wants known so that everybody's clear on what everybody wants and everybody needs. Now, one of the things that I always see in negotiations when I'm going into transaction is I will say, not always, but often, frequently, I will come into a negotiations and I get met with a wall on the other side. Where they're like, nope, this is us, this is where we stand, this is what we're doing, that's it. And the other agent thinks that's what a negotiation is, standing firm. But a negotiation is adjustments, little tiny adjustments along the way and along the transaction. Come on in, we're talking about negotiations. How are you? You're good, come on in. So the little itty bitty wins along the way. That's literally what a negotiation is. What is a win-win? You mentioned both parties kind of.
Yeah, basically, so no one feels like they were taken advantage of or hurt in the
Okay.
situation.
Okay. That would feel like a win-win, right? Now, sometimes you'll have a transaction where it's like super smooth, uber butter, everybody loved each other, and we closed the deal up. The energy just felt like it flowed all the way through the transaction, all the way through settlement, everybody gets paid, and it's like, wow, what actually happened to cause a transaction where there was literally no issues? And those are super rare, but they feel amazing. And usually they involve several elements. Now, what are the elements of a transaction like that?
A good agent on the other side.
A good agent on the other side.
Both agents are working with each other.
Both agents are working with each other, okay? Now, can you be the good agent on the other side? Okay, so if you have a really good agent on the other side and you happen to be the shit agent, not going to work very good. So every time, be a good agent on your side. That way it makes it easier for the other agent to be a good agent on their side. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means. What was that you said?
Working with the other agent together. Like,
Working together.
you know, keeping an open dialogue and sure that you guys are just, you know, understanding each other. throughout
Yes.
the process.
Open dialogue, making sure you're understanding each other through the process. I love that you said that. That's your number one advocate through the process of the closing is the other fiduciary. It's the other agent. They are your number one advocate. Why do I say that? Because most people think, oh, they're they're our adversary, right? Why are they our number one advocate?
They want to get paid too.
What's that?
They want to get paid too.
Yeah.
They want it to work.
They want to get paid too. What were you gonna say, Betty? Where were you gonna say?
It was gonna be,
Okay,
the first negotiation that I start with is by putting in my offer instructions in the MLS on how we want the offers constructed.
oh, I love
So
that.
that it's easy to pick the one that is not only gonna be the best terms price for my client, but also to see if that agent can follow instructions.
That's pretty damn good. And I love that too. I love it when an agent reaches out to me and says, here's the expectation of my client. This is what they want to have happen in this transaction. And then they list it out. And I've had very few agents do this. But when you see my clients are moving out of state or they're retiring and they're moving to Florida, which is the best place in the world to live. Okay. They're retiring, they're moving to Florida. They are not rushed. They're not over stressed or over motivated or whatever, right? They're not stressed out about this process. Like, I love it when an agent comes in and just drops all those bombs on me, a list of ideals for the client. Because then I can go in and I can tell my client, here's where they stand. Then because what happens is when you create a meeting of the minds, both parties are just simply saying, here's where we stand. This is where we stand in the transaction. Now let's see how we can create a transaction together. right? Okay, so connection, let's talk about the connection process of negotiations. What are the first parties that need to connect when you come together in a transaction?
Yeah, an agent.
The agents, okay? Now let's say the other agent happens to be somebody you don't like. Is that a possibility? Okay, there's one in particular that I think about right now it was years ago, and I can't get over how much I don't like this woman. She was so difficult. She was such a horrible personality from my perspective. Now, other people love her. She's one of the top agents in the state of Utah. She did tons of transactions. She was on one of the top real estate teams. But she was diabolical in her communications. Terrible. Yeah, absolutely evil the way she responded to me on everything. I felt she was like the spawn of Satan. And it was very difficult to deal with her. And I never want to deal with her again. But if I do, here's how I'm going to approach it. I'm going to say her name. I'm going to say, hey, I'm so happy that we get to have a second chance at this process. Last time, we didn't have a very good transaction. And I apologize for my part in that. I want to make sure that this time the transaction goes super smooth. Is that fair to you? What do you think she's going to say to that?
If she remembers that you had a bad transaction.
Oh, she remembers. She remembers.
You're bringing it to the forefront right from the start.
Absolutely.
So is that the best way to go into it?
Yes, I'm going to talk about other places why that's the best way to go into it. Because if you drag that shit through the mud behind you into a transaction and it never gets talked about, what's going to happen to the transaction? Probably the same thing that happened the first time. It's called confrontation. Now, is confrontation good or bad?
Good.
Good. Why? I don't want to be confrontational, Brandon. I don't want to deal with it. I don't like confrontation. I don't want to be
You have mics in
confrontational.
this office then, huh? You're hearing what the agents are. always-
I don't want to be confrontational.
If they know it's coming from a place of love and good to try to help the situation out, it's different, right?
Yes.
And sometimes you need to ask permission instead of just confronting them. You gotta ask, can I be honest with you on this? Or can
Yeah.
I tell you, what concerns me here? So if you start it like that, it softens it and it gives permission where they're like, yeah, tell me what's up. Like, don't sugarcoat it. They typically will respond like that. Then you get to be direct.
Yeah.
Right. So it's all on how you approach.
Yes.
It shows transparency and humility too.
Transparency and humility. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then it also gives me an opportunity, because she was such a bitch, to offer her grace. Right? Because I'm sure I had no part in that process. Right? I'm sure there was nothing I did, said, communicated to her, text to her that felt aggressive or abrasive during our transaction. I'm sure it was just all her. Right? Right. I was a complete angel through the transaction. I remember that transaction, and her son owned the team that she was on. And he ran, it was like the top 2 or 3 in the state of Utah. Just amazing transactions. They did probably close to 700 deals a year. And it was phenomenal to be I really wanted to be a part of that transaction, and I was excited. And then when I came across the arrogance and the utter just buffoonity of this agent, it just I just hit a wall with her, and I had the hardest time navigating that.
Should
No.
tell you you're live on
Good,
Instagram.
good. Maybe she'll learn something from this. All right. I won't say any names. Let's put it that way. So what happened? So what ended up happening is I just sucked it up, buttercup, is what I did. I just dealt with it. I sucked it up. I realized every time I got on the phone, it was going to be like sandpaper, right? And I just said, you know what? That's okay. I'm gonna suck it up. I'll go through it. And at the end of the transaction, I did send her a nice email. And I just said, hey, I know that wasn't the smoothest transaction. Apologize for my part in that. I hope that next time if we do a transaction, it will be much better. Because here's what happens. I mean, holy shit, look in this office, all the different types of personalities, right? The different cultures, the different ideals, the different belief systems, right? And the ability to go in and connect with somebody on a high level while facing those belief systems and those different challenges. And then let's look at the concept of everybody's either currently in, right? Just came out of or about to go into one of the worst or most traumatic experiences of their lives. That's just how life is. You're either in the shit, just came out of the shit, or about to go into it on some level, right? Well, the good thing about that is that we have the ability to wade our way through that any way that we choose. We can either see it as a beautiful life experience. We can connect with it on a way that amazes ourselves. But it enables us really to take moments of grace, not just for the people who we're working with, but for ourselves. And identify that, look, everybody's either in something, came out of something, or about to go into something. And so I don't fault her for that. Like, it was so blatant, guys. It was so blatant how terrible she was in the transaction to me and to my transaction coordinator and to my assistant. She was terrible to everyone in the transaction, to the point where I had to call up her son who owned the team and say, hey, your mom is stepping out of line and you need to go have a conversation with her. She's being very terrible. He's like, man, I'm so sorry, man. I don't know what's going on. He's like, literally says, I don't know what's going on. I will talk to her. I'm so sorry, right? It didn't help one thing, by the way. Like I don't even know if he even actually talked to her about it.
Have you ever told your wife you feel this way about her?
Oh, it's so funny. All right. Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah. Okay. So just look at it at the opportunity to be able to be the one, because in every transaction and in every connection, there's usually one leader, not two. There's usually one. There's one person that will lead you through the process really smoothly, right? People talk about relationships in their families and they go, wait a second, my dad never calls me. Well, do you ever call him? Maybe your dad's not the leader in that relationship. And maybe it switches from time to time of who's going to lead out and be the person in that relationship. And so maybe it's time for you to step up and do that. Oh, I would call him, but he never calls me back. Call him again. Be the leader, right? Step up. This is the same concept in other relationships, right? Familial or like personal, romantic relationships. Go for it, Ken.
Yeah, just keep in mind, I've had a situation where I had a transaction with a brand new agent. And everything that was going on was falling apart and on her side. And I could have taken a really ugly stance and taken advantage of the situation and really screwed her over, taken the deposit, all sorts of stuff. Her broker basically gave up on her. It did not help her. Instead of taking a stance of like the upper hand, I helped her and guided her through it to make it happen. And she never forgot it. And later on, she came and joined our company because of it.
Yes.
So you can't take advantage of a situation either. You know, that's not cool. You know, you can
Yes.
help. Ultimately, it's what's in the best interest of both, not just your client, the other client. And there is situations where your experience can surpass someone and you could really benefit yours and not. And what good is that at the end of it all? You know, ultimately, you should work together cohesively, because you're gonna run into that person again.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it's.
And-
oh,
Oh, go for it. Go for
Yeah,
it.
just one line with that. So hear me say it all the time with the Napoleon Hill, engage in no transaction which does not benefit all whom it affects, right? That's spot on with what Ken's saying. Just because, yes, our job is to advocate on our client's behalf, there's also a certain level of trust that you're just gonna do the right thing, right? Because one day, you're gonna be on the opposite side of that. We all make mistakes. Problems are gonna happen. And it goes a long way when you act that way, but more than anything, what I'm writing down right now is a list of why do I believe agents want to work with me in the future? And you should write that down for yourself.
Yes.
And as you're doing transactions, you got to remember, it's not just about winning at all costs. It's about doing things in a way so that the next time somebody sees your offer, they're like, this is the agent I'm going to work with. And I just heard this recently from the agents that just came and joined us, that they said, she was like, look, the other agent on this other side is worth gold. Not the buyer. The other agent on the other side is worth gold. Because we know that this deal will close. We know if we accept their offer, it's gonna happen.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure.
And, or they'll work through it really well because they're just a dynamic agent, right? And it's connecting and valuing those. And it's acknowledging that when somebody treats you a certain way, it's usually because it's a representation of the type of or the level of pain that's currently in their life. The way somebody treats you is a direct reflection of their current emotional state. And so when you step out of it and you see it from a third party and you go, wow, that person is treating that person really bad, that person must be in pain. Then you can identify where work needs to happen within the transaction or within the communication to help make the transaction go well. Now, most of the negotiations that happen in a transaction are between whom? In reality, the agents. They're not even between the seller and the buyer. Oftentimes, seller and buyer could make this shit happen and work out a lot better and a lot easier if the agents weren't involved. Because what happens is agents get in the middle of it. They start creating their own ego, right? They start ruffling the feathers of the other person. Their ego starts to raise. And then what happens?
The deal falls apart.
The deal literally falls apart. I've seen it time and time again where the deal was falling apart because of the agents, not because of the terms, needs, wants, or desires of the clients. The principles. Look, we're not principals to this process. They are, right? We're not parties to this. We don't get to party in this party. All right. We're just fiduciaries. We're just making shit happen on the outside to bring in the end result for the clients.
You know, it's interesting. You would think that the agent that's super busy would be the one with more of an attitude, and it's usually the newer agent that has nothing going on. Like their 5 minutes of claim to fame that creates the biggest problem. And we would have, as Brandon and I can attest to this, or Brandon can attest to this, as a managers, we would have the same few agents constantly getting into issues. Always, it was the same, and they would always talk about everyone else, and we would finally go, maybe it's you, you know, like it's over and over and over and over. You don't want that reputation. You don't, because like it spreads, and like Brandon said, your offer will never get through, and you just don't want that reputation.
And it's usually when you look at those agents, it's usually those agents that are really confident, headstrong, ego driven. And none of those things are bad. They just need to be put in check. You know, your ego of who's better or who has more experience or whatever. I remember I was doing this transaction. Actually, it was that same transaction. We'll do a whole class on this transaction. So in that same transaction, you know what she whips out? She goes like this, Alma. This is how she sounded. I'm just reenacting. Okay. Alma. She goes, I've been in this business for 35 years. I've done more transactions in 1 year than you'll do in your lifetime. And she whipped out that. And I was just, my ego went through the roof. Because at that time I was doing a ton of business too. So my ego went through the roof. what I actually should have done, because when you say that, Ken, I was the problem in that transaction. I'll be candid. Was she rude up front? Yes, my fault. Did she treat me bad? Yes, my fault. Because what ended up happening is when she came at me the first moment, when she was in her weakness, I received it and responded in the kind. Instead of saying, oh shit, she's having a bad day. I need to help her through this. And on the next time that happened with a different agent, he comes at me and I said, oh man. He goes, what? Comes at me like with some like harsh request. I said, oh man, you must be having a bad one, bro. What do we need to talk about before we start talking about this transaction? Are you okay? How's your life? Do we need to have a conversation first before we get into negotiating for our clients?
You respond to that?
He broke down. He broke down. He got emotional. He got apologetic. He's like, you're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't treat you that way. I'm like, hey, I'm happy to talk about it first before we get started on this thing. We talked about it for like probably 25, 30 minutes. Figured out that he was going through some stuff, going through divorce, debt in debt, things like that. Really frustrated because he couldn't get these clients to do what they needed to do so he could close a deal, make some money. We talked it through. And then we had a phenomenal transaction. I know that that sounds crazy, but it's not. Every human is human. Every human is human. We all have the ability to connect and be connected with. The choice is when you go into a negotiation scenario, who's going to be the leader? Who's going to be the one to step up, drop their ego, drop their guard, and connect with the agent? Every time an agent calls, oh, I'm so excited to work with you. I heard amazing things about you. If I have, right? If I haven't, I'm excited to discover all the amazing things about you as an agent. And I'm excited to work with you through this. I can't wait. This is going to be so much fun. I mean, I set the precedence right up front. What are you going to say, Brandon?
You're hitting on a major point in terms of talking through the negotiations. Because think of how many times an offer sent and there's never even a phone call. If you're the listing agent and the buyer's agent doesn't even call you up, or especially with requests for repairs, right? How many times standard is to just send the request for repairs with an email? Maybe you'll get an email explaining why they're asking for everything. If this is something that the whole deal can fall apart over, don't you think it's at least worth a phone call? So I just want to emphasize that because shortcuts are everywhere and people don't like dealing with confrontation. They don't like dealing with giving bad news. The very first lesson my dad taught me is bad news has to travel faster than good news. Everybody can say, hey, your offer was accepted. Nobody likes to call the person and say, sorry, we're not going forward with your offer. And you're lucky to get a phone call on that. I try to do that every single time, more times than not. I know there's been a few occasions where I didn't call every single person that we didn't accept it, but it sucks. It sucks being the buyer's agent when your offer doesn't get accepted and you get no explanation, you get no nothing other than thank you for your time, we went with somebody else on an email, if you're lucky. So the more you communicate difficult things, the better results you're gonna get. I just wanted to emphasize that point because you're hitting on the conversation.
Yes, the
It's not
code to
conversation.
connection is conversation. That is the entire code. It's actually having a verbal discussion. And sometimes it's, hey, I'm going to take you to coffee. We'll sit down and have some conversation. Betty?
I just did this. Request for repair. It was quite a lot of money because the heat pump is pretty much at the end of its life. So not only did I look at the situation that we were confronted with, but also what my clients are gonna have to do later on when that heat pump completely goes out. And I'm a big proponent of telling everybody about the new refrigerant that's in place, and now you're gonna have to replace your AC unit and all of that. So I wrote a one-page letter and explained, that we want to work together, that my clients are very excited about this property, blah, blah, blah. And that these are the things we're asking for. And these are other big ticket items that we're not asking for, but we need to you know, I needed to let them know the flooring in the whole place is lifting everywhere. The walls all need to be repainted in the whole place. And I got my client over $9,200 credit with
Wow.
no questions asked.
Beautiful.
Seller, trustees signed off on it. And I asked myself, I wonder how many agents put that extra effort into softening the blow and helping that agent express it to their client. Because that's what it takes. It's the communication. It's not
Yes.
that we're trying to do a money grab. It's because this is an investment for my clients and they're gonna have to pretty much put a lot of money into the property.
Yes, it's that, I love that because you're not going into it saying, this is what we want, period. You're going, this is what we want and here is why. This is what they're requesting, this is why. And you're adding value to your argument in that process, okay? So usually when I go into a negotiations class, like a one-on-one, right? I walk right in and people are expecting me how to be, like, teach them how to be a shrewd negotiator. That's not how I roll. I am a shrewd negotiator, but I am not a harsh negotiator. Okay. They expect harshness, I should say, not shrewdness, but harshness. I'm not harsh, but I'm damn good at it because I'm damn good at connection. I'm really good at identifying where people's weaknesses are, having a good connection point, not to manipulate them, but through the act of persuasion. And what's the difference between manipulation and persuasion?
The intent.
The intent. What you intend to achieve. You want to manipulate somebody, it's usually a negative connotation and a negative intent. Persuasion, however, is helping people see your perspective and bringing them in that direction. And persuasion is good. Persuasion is fantastic. That's how you got married. If you ever got married, you persuaded somebody to say yes to you through who you were being. And ultimately, the best level of persuasion comes not from what you say or even what you do, but it's who you are, right? It's creating an individuality of yourself that adds value in the eyes of the other person and causes them to want to connect to you long term. That's what persuasion is. And so you're literally doing the exact same things in a transaction. Okay, so let's go into the kind of the 102 portion of negotiations. This is a little bit more tactical, okay? So there are 10 key points that define a successful negotiation. Number one is you have to have a clear understanding, like Betty said, of their motivation. A clear understanding of their motivation. What does that mean? What would that be representative of? What would a clear understanding of somebody's motivation look like? What do you understand? What are you finding out that they're motivated by? What are some things that would motivate a client?
Family,
Okay, family,
money, time.
money, time.
Talking about our clients, I missed the first part of the question.
Great point.
Our client or the other?
Our client or theirs? Both.
Discovery is key.
Discovery is key. Family, time, money, right? Job, what is it? A job loss, a job transfer? And ask all these questions. Ask every single question. One of the great negotiators that I talked to in real estate, I was all the way back in real estate school. He goes, ask the question anyways. Even if it sounds intrusive or invasive, ask it anyways. You can always ask. They may not tell you, but you can always ask. And 9 times out of 10, when I ask an agent, hey, how much does your client owe on the property, or how much they need to net? They'll tell me. It's crazy. They'll tell me. Like, what does your client need to net out of sell his home? What's the most important to them about selling their home? Share with me what's most important to you as their agent in getting the property sold. What are your timelines like? What do you have to accomplish? How long you've been working with this person? Right? How powerful would it be to know, like, I've been working with this guy for 6 months. I can't close him. It's important to me to get him closed. Right? They'll tell you this stuff, right? Fiduciarily, they're just supposed to ride it out. But legitimately, they will communicate those things to you that you wouldn't think that they would communicate to you. They will, if you ask them. Like probably 80 to 90% of the time, they will. If you do first what we talked about previously, which was high level connection. You high level connect with that other agent, they will become your greatest advocate, not your shrewdest point of pain in the negotiation process. You're gonna say something, Ken?
Yeah, I would tell you, based on my years of experience, the biggest thing in asking the questions is understanding what they're saying to you. So when someone says like, that's too much, that's too high, and then you move on, most people will move on to the next question without understanding what that means. Like what is too high? What is too high to you? Help me explain, or please explain what you mean by that.
Yes.
And it could be $5, it could be thousands.
Yes.
So you have to, every time people answer abruptly like that, you have to have a follow-up question and a better understanding of what they're trying to tell you.
Yes. Thank you. So clear understanding, motivation, know why the other party is buying or selling, their timing, financial pressure, emotional drivers, life-changing events. Some of those things often matter more than the money. Often, not every time. Often they do. I just finished up a transaction in Palm Coast, Florida. Beautiful little community, a lot of golf carts, a lot of swingers out there. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, no, I'm not kidding. That is true. A lot of upside down pineapples in that area. But I helped this guy close his house, and I actually helped him buy the house out there first. He lived in it for about a year and a half. I helped him buy there before I lived there, because I was licensed there about a year before, about 6 months before I moved out there. So we closed on his property. He moved in, loved it, enjoyed it, but about 7 months later, he was put on hospice. And he called me up, he goes, Alma, I just got put on hospice. I gotta go. I gotta go back to Utah, where he was from. And I'm like, oh, dude, Tony, I'm so sorry, man. He's like, yeah, you know what? That's just life. He goes, I'm ready to move. He said, just sell this house, get it done as quick as you can. I want to go spend time with my kids and my grandbabies. And he said, money is not an issue for me at all. He said, just cover what I owe, or actually he paid cash. So he said, just get it sold for what it'll sell for really quick, and I'm out of here. I said, all right. So we stuck it on the market. We actually sold it for full market value, which was fantastic because he was ready to just cut it. I said, Tony, will you give me like 2 weeks to do this at full market value versus cutting it down another $70,000, $80,000 just to kick it out the door? He goes, oh yeah, that's fine. So we did the 2 week thing. He moved. He knew I was going to sell the house. So he just moved, went back to Utah. I took care of the house. I even went out and mowed the lawn, freaking pulled weeds like once every 2 weeks just to keep everything dialed in. And we closed the house. But it was not about the money for him. Literally the last thing on his mind was the cash. He's like, it's just going into a pot of money that my kids are going to get anyways. They don't need any money, but I am leaving them money. And he said, money is not the issue, it's the time. So what's amazing about that is that was about 8 months ago. Tony is still alive. He's doing really well. He is still on hospice. For some reason, he's been able to stay on hospice this long. And he believes that he's gonna pass. And I sent him a text actually about 2 days ago, and I'll read it to you because it's hilarious. It's just too funny not to read it to you. I said, hey brother, happy new year. Just wanted to say I was thinking about you. Hope you're having a fantastic 2026 so far. And I don't even know if he's alive, right? I'm just sending this to it kind of to see if he is. Just wanted to send you our love. And he said, happy New Year's. He said, I just hope the real estate market there stabilizes enough for you guys to make millions. I'm still on hospice with promise of death by now, or with promises of death anytime now. But I'm starting to see that I have no control when I get to go to heaven and hook up with my wife again. He said, so I get to linger around for a while longer, laugh at how stupid we humans are. Also, I'm beginning to truly realize how most of the things we pursue on this fallen and carnal world amount to a pile of dung. He said, love for you and your family. He said, and love for your fellow beings is all that really matters. Love, Tony. But I'm like, man, here's this guy. He's at this point in his life. He's at that point that all of us at some point will dread. And at some point we will embrace. He's totally embraced it. Like he's ready and he wants to go hook up with his wife, whatever that means. And that's probably what he meant. Because he's silly. He's like silly, right? And he's just ready. He's ready to pass. He's lived his life. He's been an amazing part of the community. He was up here in Northern California as a police officer for years. Just an incredible human being. But he feels like he fully expressed himself in his life and he's ready to pass. And so the cash means literally dung to him. It means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I just had a similar situation. 2 years ago, my friend's mother, who's in her late 70s, she wanted to be with her family and see me. She loves Simi Valley, wanted to be there. I find her the perfect home after over a year of searching. And she can't pull the trigger because it's like 10,000 too high. And won't pull it. And it's beautiful. It's everything, will not do it. And gets in an argument, actually upsets the agent, goes without me, does crazy stuff. I end up selling her this beautiful home in Camarillo, and she loves it, she buys it. And I see her, ironically, her family member lives across the street from my house. So during the holidays, she's there. This just happened this Christmas. She comes out and she says, I need to be back and see me. I don't care if it's, before it had to be a 1-story, no pool, had to be this. She goes, I don't care if it's a 2-story. I don't care if it has a pool. I don't care if it's, and I said, well, now that you're priced out, the houses are 200,000-300,000 more. She goes, I don't care. I'm 70 something. I don't care. I just want to be my grandkids. So the complete perspective completely changed on just realization of where her age and how much time she has. And everything was out the window. So it's like, maybe I should have done a better job of projecting that, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe I should have just waited till Christmas to hit her up, like with her kids. Like, I don't know. But money is not always the motivating factor. Like he's saying, it's not.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. When you step into other things like your market knowledge, right? You have to back up your requests and what you're trying to accomplish by strong market knowledge or strong situational knowledge. Like in this situation, what needs to happen? If you conducted yourself well in the beginning, asked great questions and created a fantastic relationship with the other agent, you should know most of this going into this process, right? Successful negotiators anchor their positions in facts, comps, absorption rates, inventory levels, days on the market, local trends, not on opinions. Not on opinions, right? And also not on hope. What's a really bad strategy for success in business? Hope. That's not to say that business is not a spiritual game. It absolutely is a spiritual game. And I don't mean that religiously. I mean that connection-wise. It's a connection game. Business is a connection game. Those that connect on the highest level have the highest levels of success in business. And have the most amount of opportunities come up in business. And have the most amount of success connecting with other adversarial connections. Meaning other agents, right? If any agent that I've worked with in the state of Florida or in the state of Utah will tell you that, maybe with the exception of that one lady, I'm working on that. Maybe I should call her to say hi to her. Will tell you that they love me. And most of them we did a deal with at some point. They love me. And it's because I was willing to step out of my own discomfort and go the extra mile, not take offense to things that maybe they were hurting in or someplace they were wallowing in, and connecting with them. Preparation before a conversation. When you're going into a conversation and you need to have a change in the transaction, you need to adjust something. You know, the seller's asking for an adjustment on price, the buyers are asking for a $24,000 adjustment for concessions, whatever it is. Go in prepared, because the best negotiations are won before the offer is written, based on your strategy, concessions, walkaway points, leverage. All that stuff should be mapped out before. You'll go into a transaction and you've already won the transaction based on who you are. I even say that on listing appointments. The listing is usually won before you even get to the house, if you connected with them the right way on the phone before you got there. Because your persuasion factors are already in place before you get there. Go ahead, Brandon.
With going back to your connection point,
Yes.
what do you feel changed for you, or how did you get so strong at connection? Like what qualities, like what are you subconsciously doing when you know you're increasing your level of connection? And then how have you worked on yourself? Like what events have you attended? What things have you done to make sure that you can connect at the highest level possible?
I'm literally flustered with goosebumps as you're talking about it, with just warmth and energy come from that question. When I first started real estate, I was the problem. Time and time and time again, Rob Oakey and George Morris would call me into their office because I had an issue with communication factor in the process of selling real estate. Whether it was I wasn't calling my clients were frustrated, they're calling me up, hey, how come he's not calling us? Well, nothing's going on. I don't have anything to say, right? What am I gonna say? Same old, same thing we said yet last week. Good job, market still sucks. George Beck, that's not enough. You have to call them and tell them that. Every time.
That's it.
Every time.
Wow.
Okay?
That's crazy, bro.
I didn't spend 18 years with the guy, right? Like, right? So I was the problem. And Rob Oakey and Rob loved calling me in his office, right? Because me and Rob always because he was high analytical and I was like high expressive driver, right? And so I go in and he's like, oh, I think we're gonna have a problem here. I think we have a problem.
Sounds just like.
We need to talk about this a little bit. It's what we need to do. I'm like, Rob, and I'm just like, dude, I told George, I said, I can't have another conversation with Rob about this. Like, you want to talk to me about it, I'm okay talking about it. But the problem is that the problem lied within myself. I had an ego trip. I had the problem. I thought because I had, at that point, had been in the business for like 8 years, I've been in it for 21 now, but because I'd been in the business for 8 years, I felt like I had some authority and experience to be respected. That was my ego. I didn't even realize what an ego was. I thought ego literally meant just somebody was like egotistical, arrogant, right? Cocky, all those things just attached to that concept. That's what I thought it was. What I realized is no, ego's much bigger than that. Ego's almost your entire persona. And when you are okay allowing somebody to come into your persona, you're okay allowing your ego to drop. Meaning you're okay listening to people like a George Morris or a Rob Oakey and have those conversations where they can outline things and you go, oh, wait a sec. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I see that. It took probably 20 times before I actually saw it. And to answer your question, Brandon, it took a lot of mental and emotional work because I had all these wounds from my past, from my childhood. I had these things that I really wanted to prove to myself and to my family and my siblings in life that I wasn't little broken Alma who couldn't read good. That I was now this shrewd businessman and a unbelievably dynamic real estate professional. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be like this businessman, you know? And what I realized is that people did not respect me based on the amount of money I made. They didn't respect me based on how many transactions I had done or how many awards I had. They only respected me based on what? Connection. How did I treat them? That's it. How did I treat them? And then when I started to have people come to me like Gretchen, everybody remember Gretchen? Alma, you don't treat people very good. What? No, I'm a good guy. I'm not saying you're not a good guy. You just don't treat people very good. It's like, what is she even talking about? She's so dumb. She's so analytical. Don't talk to me like this, Gretchen. Like, who are you? You're not there with me, right? You don't see how I treat. How can you do that? How can you say that? And it was because she could just feel it off of me. It was who I was being in the process. And she saw it for years. And the only reason they didn't freaking fire me is because George loved me like a brother. And he knew I was growing and I was going through some things and I had gone through some challenges in my first marriage and stuff like that. And so like, how many times, I can't even count how many times Rob Oakey was like, no, we need to fire Alma. He's a problem. He's a loose cannon. That's what they would tell me. So that's what George would tell me what Rob would say about me all the time. Called you a loose cannon, Alma. I don't think you're I think you're a good guy at the core. And then he'd use this word. It just pissed me off. It's called started with a P. Oh, potential. I hated that word. It's like, bro, Alma, you have so much potential. He's like, you have more potential in your pinky than most people have in their entire bodies. You've developed so many skills. You're so quick. You're so good on the phones. You're so fast to be able to get connection with people. But man, when you act like an a-hole to people, how do they respond? It's like, yeah, probably bad. And so I had to have a few breakdowns and I had to give back a couple clients before I looked at myself and went, oh, and I remember making the call. I remember like, I'd just gone through a divorce. I was like frustrated. I'm crying. Just had to deal with like the loss of my ability to spend time consistent with my daughter and then my stepdaughter who I raised. I was just in this like place, right? Talk about this lady I was talking about earlier today. Where was she at? Where was I at? Right? I was in this place and I get this call from Rob and he's like, Alma, got a call today. Got another call, Alma. Your client's frustrated. You're not calling him. Call him, please. I'm like, okay, I'll call him. So I call him up. And I wasn't planning on this, but when I heard my client's voice, I just did it because it was the right thing at the moment. The moment I knew it was right, I did it. I said, hey, I can't remember what his name was. We'll call him Ken. Ken, I'm really sorry. I have not been working hard on your listing. I have some personal things in my life that are challenging me. I'm unable to fulfill my responsibilities as your agent, and I'm willing to let you go. I'm willing to give you back to your listing so you can go choose whichever agent you would like, or I can give you to another agent in my office. He goes, yeah, I wouldn't trust anybody in your office. I said, I would feel the same way. I said, so I'm going to go ahead and give you your listing back. I just want you to know I'm really sorry that I effed this up for you. And I'm so sorry that I took so much time and didn't fulfill my obligation to you as your agent. And please forgive me. I'm so sorry. And I sent him the cancellation. He signed it. It broke my freaking soul. All right. I needed that money so bad. And I just gave it back. And that was a defining moment for me, to answer your question. And that's when I started searching. Like, what am I missing? Why do I feel like a good person? Literally, I felt like a good person. Like in here and in here, I felt like a good person. But why were people not receiving me that way? It was because I was hiding so many things about me that when it didn't matter what I said, you ever talk to somebody and it doesn't matter what they can say to you, you know they're not authentic with you? No matter what they say, how they act, who they profess to be, what religion they are, what greatness you put them on some level in some idealistic term, they're just not authentic. They're like, that guy's full of shit. Right? Some people were perceiving me like that. I'm not saying all, but some were. And I would get into these moments of like, how come when I talk to some clients, they absolutely love me and connect with me, and then I have others that absolutely despise me, hate me, and write bad reviews about me online. I even had one client, she goes, I don't like you. I don't know why. She goes, I want to fire you. And I'm like, well, why? Like, what have I done? She goes, I don't know. I just don't like you. I don't know. You kind of remind me of my ex-husband. Like, you look like him a little bit. This is a legit conversation. I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't care what you do. I can't be your client anymore. And I'm like, I was hurt because I thought I'm being such a good agent for this lady at this time. And she just doesn't like me. What I wasn't being was authentic. I wasn't being truthful. I was hiding so much of my life, my personality, my background. I was not giving myself to people. I was closing it off and pretending that I was something else. And then I wasn't living my moral standards. I wasn't living my value system. And here's the thing, I don't believe there's one specific value system or moral standard. I just think whatever your belief system is, you should live up to it and do the best that you know how with it. That's what I believe. I don't believe in one truth. I believe in whatever your truth is, whatever your belief system is, whatever your moral standard is, whatever principles that you believe in, I think you should live up to them. That's all. And then be completely honest and authentic and integral with people. I actually don't like the word integrity either, because it's been so overused. I love the word authentic. Just be authentic. Like, I have to skip the concept of integrity because I don't feel like maybe I effing just mashed it into the ground by not having some for so long. That, like, and then I would notice it, right? Like, it takes one to know one. I would see companies like named like Integrity Plumbing, right? And I'm like, yeah, you're full of shit, right? Or like Integrity Car Sales, or like, they got their posters, their signs there. We have integrity. We're integral. What's the most important thing to our real estate team? Integrity. And I'm like, you are the ones I'm going to first look at to see if you really have it, right? Because I preached it, but I didn't possess it. And I just had to unblock some things that were in my own way.
There's a book called The Pursuit of Excellence by Ryan Hawk, and there's a chapter in there with the guy that's selling New York, Ryan Serhant, or I think his name.
Yeah, Serhant. Yes.
Serhant. When he started off, he couldn't sell anything, and he was thinking about quitting. And he went to professional coaching, and they said, you need to self-evaluate yourself. So he says, and he goes, what do you mean? He goes, go to your best friends, your groups, the people you hang out with, and take them to coffee and say, what do people say about me when I'm not around? What do you guys think about me? And when he did that, he couldn't believe what they thought of him outside. They all liked him this way, but they thought they didn't trust him that way or whatever. After he did that is when his sales completely changed. And he took off and became successful after realizing that's tough. It's tough to hear that. But sometimes you need to realize you don't realize, like he's saying, he didn't even know what he was doing. But if you would have asked his closest people, the people he hangs out with, they all feel a certain way. Everybody can see the same patterns in you.
Do you know why too? Because I was treating them with the golden rule. Everybody remember what the golden rule is? Remember the golden rule? We grew up hearing it. Do unto others as do unto others as I was doing that, and it was effing everything up. Because the golden rule is actually a broken rule. It actually shouldn't be called golden at all. Because why would I treat somebody else the way I want to be treated? The next level, the higher level, is the platinum rule. And the platinum rule is you treat others the way they would like to be treated. right? Try that in marriage, right? Imagine a relationship, maybe I've mentioned this before. Imagine a relationship, if you have a relationship, and you treat that person mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, sexually, the way that you want to be treated. Is that going to work out very well? So in my opinion, the golden rule is a flawed system. It's actually a selfish way of living. To treat you the way I want to be treated. I don't even know you. Why would I treat you like I want to be treated? We've never hung out. I haven't had a conversation with you. So why would I treat you the way I want to be treated? I need to figure out who you are, then treat you the way you want to be treated. Fair statement?
Fair.
Right? I may not agree with your ideals, but am I going to connect with you on a higher level if I treat you the way you want to be treated?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I may not appreciate your perspectives on humanity, religion, or child rearing, right? But like, we do things differently. I need to treat you the way you would like to be treated, right? That's the platinum rule. It's the same thing a transaction. Do for them as they would have them have done unto them. Okay. So price is only one lever. Price is one lever in negotiations. Such terms as closing date, possession, repairs, credits, financing type, appraisal gaps, contingencies can create wins without moving the price. Emotional control and professionalism. This gets into a little bit, ties in a little bit more. Staying calm, respectful, solution oriented, prevents ego battles, keeps the deal focused on outcomes rather than on conflict. Strategic silence and listening. Let's talk about that. What is the best negotiator? When you actually get right through it, you have a great relationship, you've connected with people, you're being authentic. In the process of negotiating, what is the best negotiator?
Listen to what they're looking.
Listening, not speaking.
It's hard, but yes, listen.
Okay, listening. What else? Anybody else? You really just kind of nailed it. I would say silence, right? Silence is the best negotiator. You're listening, you're hearing, you're taking in, you're understanding. And then there's another step to that, which is utilizing silence as the negotiator. Like, let's role play that real quick. Ready? Tell me your clients want us to reduce the listing price $25,000 for repairs.
Hey, Alma, I just got off the phone with my clients. They want to reduce the listing price to 25, or reduce the price 25,000 for repairs.
Interesting. I'll get back to you.
Awesome. First one to talk, right?
And that's it. And I will hang up the phone. Well, usually they'll be like, well, what do you think? Will your clients do it?
And they'll keep talking.
And they'll keep talking. Because here's what we found, and this is what we think, and this is what we'll, and we, this is why we want 25,000, and this is, it was a $87,000 roof replacement and a, $7,000 dishwasher, and we're only asking 24,000. And they just go, and you're just quiet. I'll get back to you. Like I said, I'll get back to you. Click, and then silence. I do this so frequently. You would think, and sometimes I do just go take a nap. You would think I wasn't fulfilling my fiduciary responsibilities because I'm so damn silent in this process. You would think I'm not negotiating because I'm so silent after I hang up the phone. Then what ends up, go for it. What were you
The
gonna say?
manager probably goes back to their clients and, oh, I think we asked for too much.
That's exactly what happens. I'm so silent, I shut up, I let them go work it out themselves. I don't give them a yes, I don't give them a no. I say interesting. And I do a couple, interesting. I'll get back to you. Hang up, quiet, silence. Let him go back to his client because his clients are expecting a call back. Because what he just said to them is, Okay, I'll call them, ask for the $24,000 and then I'll call you right back. So I want him to call me. I'm gonna give him nothing. And then he's gonna call them back with what? Nothing. Then what are they gonna do?
Question, or what they just did.
That's right. They're gonna start questioning. I don't even have to ask them the questions. I don't have to do the work for them. I just shut off the the stream of communication for a second, because silence is the best negotiator. I let them talk about it amongst themselves, and I am not kidding you. This happens all the time. I just did this for literally $24,000 request on a house in Merritt Island, Florida. Beautiful community, by the way. It's right there, right by where they launch at Cape Canaveral, right across the bay from Cape Canaveral, where they launch all the rockets. And this beautiful pool house, $700,000, sits on a little lake, and just real close, like 3 minutes to the coast, right? Just right, beautiful area. And that was what they did. And I just said, interesting, I'll get back to you. I just left it just like that. And they went back and they just started talking through it. And guess what? I didn't call her back for I didn't call her back. It was like 3 hours. And she calls me up and she goes, hey, you know what? My clients, they're okay with it. Let's just go ahead, move forward. We don't want to break the deal. It's totally fine. It's not worth it. We're just going to go ahead and close the deal. I said, great. I didn't have to talk to my clients about it. It literally was a non-issue. Never even came up. Didn't even have to talk to them about it. They bring 24 grand, which is like a bombshell, right? Wouldn't you agree? $24,000 adjustment, bombshell. I let it sit. I let it simmer. I added silence to it. And they went and worked their way through it, figured it out. They fixed it for us. And then they came back. So in that scenario, silence is the best negotiator. I agree with that all the way through. Letting the other side talk often reveals leverage. Silence can be more powerful than pushing, especially after presenting an offer or a counter. Credible justification for requests, right? So if I am going to go for a request, they need to be credible and justified. I'm not going to it's going to be $50,000 for a new roof. No, it's where? On this house? No, it's not. This house isn't even, it's like barely 2,000 square feet. 50 grand? No, that's not, no. I didn't even say that to her. I was thinking it, right? But that's not going to really help in most scenarios. Telling her she's wrong, making her wrong in the situation is not going to really usually work. Because, right, those who are convinced against their will are still of the same opinion still, right? Did I get that right, Grandpa Ken?
Yes.
Thanks, Pops. Isn't that the, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying. I need to go to another Tony Robbins event. That's what actually helped a lot, was going to Tony Robbins too. I connected in Tony Robbins events, and Tony Robbins considers himself to be a practical psychologist. The stuff you see Tony Robbins do on TV or like online is not nearly as deep as you get when you go to one of his Unleash the Power Within events. Has anybody been to Tony Robbins in this room? 2, 3, 3 of us. What was your thought on Tony Robbins when you went to his? You went to Unleash the Power Within, obviously, because you're a firewalker.
And then I went to Date with Destiny after that same year.
Tell me about Unleash the Power Within.
2019 prepared me for COVID. So anyway, that's another story.
Where were you? What city was that? Was that Miami? LA? Okay. Yep. Okay. And what year was that?
2019.
Okay, I was there. Okay. I was there that year.
And then Date with Destiny was in West Palm.
West Palm Beach. I was there electronically on Zoom for that one.
Yeah.
But what it does is he identifies all of these characteristics. He goes really deep into the psychology of why we do what we do and why we say what we say. And then enables us to identify and then write out how we do it, what is our favorite pain points that we allow to come into our life every day, right? We identify where we are failing ourselves every day and what pain points we're causing other people. That was a little bit of a side note, but I wanted to add to what your
No,
question was.
I appreciate it, and thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing everything you did on that question. But I'm hoping as a group, you see, it's like when we talk about how important that is, when that changes within, everything else gets easier. And you'll see that it's just the business is easier, the connections are easier, setting the appointments are easier. You're not fighting over price, you're not fighting over
Yes.
negotiations. It gets just so much, like it all just starts clicking. And that's like the essential part. Everything else that you're talking about is great, but when you went into that, it's just like, just more, like keep sharing it. Because the more we all realize that, you'll see that change happen.
I think the whole team should go to Unleash Power Within 1 year.
It'd be phenomenal.
I mean, he goes between West Palm Beach and then he does New Jersey and he does LA
Right.
pretty frequently, those 3 locations. And any one of them would be amazing for us to go to. LA preferably, but he just did LA. So maybe I think the next one's probably New Jersey, but
Come here.
yeah, I'll just get him to come to the office. Yeah,
Do it.
might as well ask, right?
We
Couldn't help
can't
to
invite
ask.
Frankie here, but we can do it.
You're a baller. All right, so protecting clients' non-negotiables. What are non-negotiables?
Standard, an answer.
Yeah.
Standards that you set, like you were talking about earlier. So if you say that I'm going to attend every single dinner with my family at 6 o'clock, or I'm gonna stop working by 7 o'clock so I can spend the rest of my day, you can't, when you set that standard, you can't change that standard. You have to stick to it, because once you do start changing it, then it gets back to the integrity. You're breaking your own rules.
Yes. So in that same concept, with a transaction, there are also non-negotiables, right? Just like in life, there's non-negotiables. In a transaction, there's non-negotiables. There's things that can't be negotiated. So digging deep with that other agent and not just identifying what your client's non-negotiables are, that's a given. Identifying what your client's needs are, their non-negotiables, their absolute minimums, how much they can buy, what their interest rate is, all those things that are non-negotiable that can't be negotiated in the transaction. You want to know those obviously from your own client, but you also want to know them from the other agent's client as well. Identifying from them. Share with me, what are your clients' non-negotiables? What's most important to them about selling this house? What is most important to them about living in this area, buying in this area, and why do they love and want and need this house versus all the others that they have to choose from right now? Why is that important to know those things when it comes to negotiating?
Have to negotiate on their behalf.
Yes. Yes.
But
Because-
also at the other side, knowing what they're not willing to bend on. It's not always true.
It's
though.
not always true, but
Sometimes
yes.
They tell you that and they're still willing to bend.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
But then you can try to, again, figure out how do I have something in common that they both win, but maybe they're willing to flex here, but not here. right?
Yes.
And then you can share that with your client, and then your client's like, okay, well, we can do that for them. We'll compromise there for that they're pretty adamant about that date, right? That moving date. But, maybe they'll be willing to bend over here a little bit. So it's just the conversation,
Yes.
more discovery.
Yeah,
It
one thing
don't
that's
assume,
important
right?
to realize is that as you speak about their non-negotiables, as you discuss them, they start realizing the repercussions of what that means. So it sometimes they're not aware of the consequences of what they're saying. And there's a lot of times you can those non-negotiables are now no longer non-negotiable.
Right.
They just don't realize it. Happens a lot.
Happens a lot. Let's talk about that in your relationships real quick, because this is important. This is a character thing, guys. This is a character thing that carries into your ego What are non-negotiables? Think of, you don't have to say these out loud, obviously. What are non-negotiables in your relationship? Non-negotiables. Think about that. When you're picking someone to be with in a relationship, what are things that are non-negotiable? Right? Has to buy me Louis Vuitton. Non-negotiable. I have to drive an SUV, not a minivan. Non-negotiable. No? I'm driving a minivan right now. Okay, what are the non-negotiables? This is the same thing when you're connecting to a transaction, identifying what their non-negotiables are. They're going to treat it the same way. They're going to talk like this is a freaking baby that they're losing. Right, so you just identify what their non-negotiables are. Protecting clients' non-negotiables, know what absolutely matters to both clients and defend it firmly. I will defend what their clients need to them if it leverages correctly for my client. Like, hey, right, like let's say I'm the listing agent. You told me your clients wanted, needed, loved this house because of this area. Absolutely love the pool. I'll remind them why they're buying this house over and over again. So is it really worth adjusting the price of this amount to lose the property? I don't think so. Right? So the more communication, the better. And holding them to what they said their non-negotiables are, unless, of course, it benefits your client. Is that really negotiable? Is that really non-negotiable? Let's talk about that for a second. I know you guys said you have to net this amount on the sale. Because my clients are unable to do that, could your clients net this amount instead? It only changes it by this amount on their take home. Just identifying those things. Timing and momentum management. This is really important when you're negotiating through a process. Understanding when to push, when to pause, when to apply urgency. When you're talking about deadlines, expiring offers, etc. Keeps control of the negotiation and the flow. I remember I had one transaction when I was a newer agent, and this guy on the other side, I think it was Kenny Parcell. This guy was a stud, man. Amazing leader in the Utah real estate market. He was with Keller Williams. He was just so dynamic. Everybody respected this guy and completely authentic. This guy was completely authentic. From the moment you pick up the phone with this guy, you're talking to the man, right? You're not talking of some persona that he's trying to perceive of himself or he's trying to give you as an act. You're talking to him all the way through. He's a very, very authentic guy. So I remember the first time I did a deal with him, with Kenny, he's like, yeah, Alma, I go to him and I just said, yeah, our clients need, I think it was probably like $10,000 or something. We need to reduce $10,000 because they're loaned this and that, whatever it was. He goes, all right. Well, I mean, if it can't work, it can't work. It's not a big deal. I mean, we'll find the right buyer. And he's like, I'm a believer that like the right family will go with the right home. I was like, yeah, but I mean, my clients really want it. He goes, yeah, but it's okay. If they can't really afford it, maybe this isn't the right journey for them. Dude, my brain was like twisted. I'm like, no, but they want, we just need to reduce the price a little bit. He goes, yeah, but my clients are okay if your clients don't buy this house. It's fine. Totally okay. So if they can do it, let's do it. If they can't do it, let's not do it. Let's just let the energy go where it's supposed to go. No traction, dude. And I'm trying so hard to like give him the why and the reason and the purpose and trying to fight for my client, trying to be a shrewd negotiator. And I just had zero. He just took it all away from me, like all my ammo. And I'm like, and I start getting worked up. I'm like, Kenny, you're not listening to me. This is what I'm trying to be like tough, right? And he goes, hey, man, it's okay. This is not the most important thing in the entire world to everybody. Like maybe it is to the buyers, maybe it is to the sellers. We'll get it done. If it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. It's okay. And I was like, this guy he's phenomenal at negotiating. And I just said, and I realized he is negotiating the hell out of me right now. He's removing all the urgency, all the value backed behind what my client is asking for, and he's playing me like a fiddle. And I'm like, and I realized in that moment, he's playing me, completely playing me. And I just said, oh yeah, you know what, Kenny? And I just snapped. I went, "Hey, you know what? You're right. It's not a big deal. It's totally fine. I agree with you. I think we'll just let it energetically fall where it's supposed to. And if my buyer is supposed to buy your house, then they will. And if not, no big deal." And then he kind of goes, okay, well, I mean, let's see if we can still make it work. I said, I'm sure we will. I'll just get back to you. I'll get back to you. And hung up the phone. We ended up working it out. But I remember the feeling of just like losing traction, right? Because it was in a buyer's market. Housing market had just tanked. Everything was like, there's so much inventory. Listing, prices were dropping like crazy. People were bringing 30, 40, 50,000, $100,000 to the closing table. I had one client who brought $1 million to the closing table. I didn't do the deal, but he was out of Vegas and he sold one of his houses and he had to bring $1 million to the closing table to sell his own house. He lost so much money on this big ass house in Vegas. And I just remember that was unheard of what Kenny Parcell just did to me right there. It was unheard of that he could just pull the rug right out from under me because I was the buyer's agent. I had all the power until I didn't. And then when I played his game on him, then he respected that and went, oh, well, we'll make something work, right? So literally it worked immediately, and it does work immediately when you have that perspective. So it's basically being unattached to the outcome while still providing the outcome that you're supposed to have for your clients. Yeah. Like emotionally being unattached. That is a gift that you give to your clients to be non-emotionally attached to their outcome. It's a gift. They need you to not be attached emotionally. They need you to use your skills to get them their outcome, but they need you to be the level-headed, cool, calm, collective negotiator that's looking out for their best interest and is not going to make an emotional decision, but a strong, tactical decision for your clients. And the last one is win-win mindset with a firm bottom line, right? Successful negotiation leaves both sides feeling heard and respected, typically, maybe, while still achieving your client's core objective. Let's get right back to that win-win. We talked about it right at the beginning. I would say that both parties are content, satisfied. Sometimes they are happy. We want everybody to be happy, but in reality, we want, especially in a market that's challenging, we want resolution that benefits to the point where both parties are accepting of the outcome. And that they might be satisfied with that outcome on some level. It's not going to be perfect, that's for damn sure. And sometimes it'll be perfect where both parties feel like it's a win-win. They got exactly what they wanted, the smoothest thing ever. That usually happens when you have a phenomenal agent on the other side as well. And that you're showing each other just great respect and care. But if that doesn't exist in the transaction, at the end, it's just a matter of getting the transaction done where both people are content, I would say, is the best scenario across the board. Because is it going to be even? Is anything in a transaction going to be like 50-50? Never, right? Like it's never going to be like 50-50 where both people are like, oh, very, very seldom, I should say, maybe not never, but very seldom will it be where both parties are like, that was perfect. That was awesome.
There's times that you have to realize that in every given market, any given situation, what you think you're negotiating has already been negotiated by, like, for example, a lot of times people will see the list price and they think their negotiation is getting it for less than the list price.
Right. Yes.
So what if the list price was artificially inflated to begin with, and you're negotiating something that's already been negotiated in the seller's eyes. You will find this depending on the parties that are involved in selling the home. So, for example, like flippers, they have margins, they're not emotional to it, and it's just a different negotiation versus someone who needs to get with their grandkids.
Yes.
So these all these things, you have to do some research before you start the negotiation.
And it's about asking fantastic questions. Like, think about this scenario. What's the difference, right? One is, hey, my clients want to offer 250 on your $300,000 home. Okay. You could choose to be like, oh, 250. Are you out of your mind? That's ridiculous on a $300,000 home. Man, no way. No way. You could do that. Or you could go, oh man, imagine if your client got this house for 250. How incredible would that be for them? That's crazy. Incredible. That would be incredible. Think about that. If they could actually get this house for 250 when my client is selling it for 300, that would be wild, wouldn't it? All right, well, submit us an offer and we'll go back and forth to see where we can land. What I didn't do is tell them no. What I didn't do is make them wrong up front. What I did do is go over on their side and look at it from their perspective. Man, imagine if they could get this for 250,000. I even went a little bit further. I bet the agent hated calling me and asking me for that. Right? Sometimes agents hate calling. We offered 50 grand low on a $300,000 house, right? But if you can go step over on even further past the agent to the client's mind and go, oh man, imagine that. Imagine if your buyers could actually get this house for 250,000 instead of 300. That would be incredible for them, wouldn't it? You're not saying I'm going to make that happen for you. You're not saying that I'm not going to negotiate for my clients. You're just seeing it from the perspective of the seller and connecting on that level, then going for the negotiations process. I did that on this one in Merritt Island, where when they asked for the 24,000, I said, man, 24, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Whoa, crazy. Let me call you back. And then I just and then I like negged it a little bit, just was like, I don't know. That's crazy. Based on where my clients are, I just don't know. I'm gonna get back to you. And then they negotiated themselves out of it.
Yeah, and sometimes
awesome.
you're faced with that low ball offer. And a lot of times you just blow it up and say, oh, you're crazy, that's not gonna happen. And you don't know.
Yeah, don't drop a bomb in the middle of the
You're
conversation.
not allowed to do that. You have to convey that to your client
Yes.
and let them decide. You can't just blow something up like that. It's not okay.
Yep.
The other thing that you can now, your job is to understand what the dynamics are of this situation. So, for example, look, your house needs $25,000 worth of repairs. What if we did take that offer and we said no repairs? What if, figure out timing, those other things are worth money.
The most successful negotiations, this is the last thing I'll say. The most successful negotiations are when both parties feel heard and respected. That's it. Doesn't mean that one party wins, the other party loses. Doesn't mean it's 50-50. Doesn't have to even be a win-win across the board. As long as both parties feel heard and respected, 99% of the time, you will come up with a very, very clean, high-level communication transaction that is smooth and beautiful for everyone. And you will start to really love real estate when you start doing it from that perspective versus being like this with everybody that comes across. Or when you call up an agent, you're like, hey, we're thinking of submitting an offer, and the agent's like already like negotiating with you. You haven't submitted an offer, just be like, oh, that's great. I'm so excited for your client. Tell me a little bit about your clients. I mean, I've learned this, guys. I didn't just like make this shit up. I learned this from other amazing agents that I happened to call up and submit offers to for my clients that were like, oh, that's so exciting. Tell me a little bit about your clients. Oh, I'm so excited get an offer from you and work with you. I've heard your name. I know that you're in the area here, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, cool, cool, sweet, yeah. Cool freaking dope. Everybody knows me. I wear cool shirts. I have a beard. I have a beard, Ken. Everybody knows who I am. So thank you guys. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for really digging deep on this and for your comments and your amazing skills. And thank you for being here in this organization. I'm so excited to be a part of you guys. So thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Negotiate.
Let us negotiate.
Alma, did you want to mention anything about